No. Yeah, maybe. Okay, we may be live. I'm not 100% positive, so I'll have to go look. Hold on 1 second here. Or Jaded, if you can look.
Yeah.
I'm reloading the YouTube page. Yep, episode 10 live now.
Oh, Jesus Christ! All right, well, always. Anyway, listen.
From the top.
Yeah, from the top. I've just skipped the last 10 minutes. This is the Pulpit of Doom podcast, the official podcast at dreamindemon.com. And if somebody's got the podcast playing, turn it down for me. And yeah, I'm hearing myself echo again. Anyway, this is Morbid. As usual, we are in a bit of a clusterfuck because we streamed for 10 minutes before we realized nothing was actually going out on YouTube. So awesome. With me tonight, I have Jaded and I have Old Man Metal.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Yeah, that's really weird. I'm actually hearing the podcast with like a small milli delay. I think that happened to me last time. Anyway.
It did.
Okay.
I don't have a live speaker. I'm hearing the same thing, but I'm used to it from the Xbox, so whatever.
God dang it. It's always something. Anyway, I'm not even going to go over all the shit that I just ran my mouth about for 10 minutes. So, man, I hate when that fucking happens. I really do. There's a setting that I didn't click that says to start streaming automatically when YouTube receives data, and I didn't have that stupid ass checkbox checked, so that's what was happening. So, as usual,
what did we learn from this?
Right. For one, don't advertise an event a week ahead, and then don't actually schedule it until 10 minutes before you're supposed to go on. I thought I'd already done it. So anyway, for those of you who may have just tuned in and have not listened to this quote unquote podcast before, normally what we do is we'll talk about the top stories for the week on dreamindemon.com, where normally we just report on the worst stories we can find for the week. And this week we had a little help with an old member. And how long were you a member to the site? Because I know I've seen your name in the comment section for a long time.
We had at least 10 years.
Yeah,
at least 10 years.
I knew it was a long time. So anyway, he started sending articles, and they were really good. So since some of his came up in the top 10 this week, I told him that please join the podcast, and which he did. And then, as icing on the cake, he has a radio voice. So it's like it's been pretty aces ever since you sent that first story in. So I do appreciate it. I know Jaded does, because it keeps her from having to write anything.
Well, I appreciate it too. If you guys can use it, I'm happy to help.
Pagan will be joining us at some point. He was one of the reasons why we're doing this tonight instead of Saturday night, and then he called to let me know that he was stuck at a fair.
He gets stuck in the weirdest places.
I know, right? And we were supposed to work on his computer, so he'd have to quit using his telephone, but whatever. So anyway, go ahead.
Did he use his telephone to write a story?
Now that you say that, I don't know how he's been writing his stories.
Because that would be pretty fucking amazing.
He may have been using his damn phone.
Well, then give that guy a medal, because
that's dedication right there.
Seriously.
Well, when he pops in, let's ask him how the hell is he writing his damn articles, because I know he's not using the computer because it's stuck in a perpetual Windows 10 update that will never work. So I was going to remote into it and help him get that done, and he can never seem to find the time to have me do that. So, and not that I'm bitching, because you know how much I love working on computers.
Yep.
Lots of fun.
Well, it's just aggravating when you have people that don't know exactly what you're talking about.
You better not be talking about me.
Oh, no. Jeez.
Okay, because I will kick you.
You got a little defensive there.
Because last time you helped me with my computer, you yelled at me.
I know. I was totally talking about you.
I clicked into this thing, and now it won't work.
Actually, I think it was almost exactly like that.
Pretty much.
No, what was it? I kept telling you to type something in, but you kept typing something completely different in. I don't remember what it was, but that was where the aggravation was
Well,
coming from.
I can't help that you don't speak good English, man.
No, I'll give you that. Let's see here. This week, we got a whole host of stories, and the fact that we're podcasting on a Friday instead of our normal Saturday, some of them got left off. So we're probably just going to, we'll just jump around a bit, and we'll see where this goes. And we'll start with one and get it out of the way. This was that poor girl in Arlington, Florida, 6 years old. Well, she was mauled to death by a pit bull that her family was pet sitting for another family. There's not really much else to the story because there wasn't a lot of details aside from what I just said. The family, I guess, had taken in a dog, a pit bull, for a friend or something as they went on vacation or out of town. And nobody knows exactly what happened, or if they do, I didn't see it when I wrote it. But the dog ended up latching onto this 6-year-old girl and mauled her to death. But what do you do? I mean that's bad. But there's not really much else you can say about it. I think we post one of these every other week.
You got to be a hell of a buddy to babysit a pit bull for someone. That's it's not something you just ask a random acquaintance to do. Or at least I hope you don't.
Well, because I can just hear the owners of the pit bull. He's harmless. He's never bitten it. He's a baby doll. I always see these pit bulls.
He loves kids.
Right. Oh, yeah. You always see that. And, every time that you post pit bull stories, of course, I'm not pro or con pit bull. I am just con leaving kids with any animal that can kill them. And just with pit bulls in general, like it or not, they have a pretty nasty reputation. And statistically, if you leave your kid alone with a dog, it's a high chance, it's higher with a pit bull than with a chihuahua that their throat's going to get ripped out. So I just don't like them in that regard. But and as we've seen on the site, we've had multiple different breeds of dogs and animals killing kids. You generally probably shouldn't leave little kids alone with animals anyway.
And sometimes you shouldn't leave them alone with adults.
Yeah, sometimes you shouldn't leave them alone at all. Good Lord.
Yeah, I remember we used to. Yeah, I know we've scared a lot of people on this site over the years. I don't know if it's as bad now. I don't know if people. It is. I didn't know. I know we were really scaring people into thinking that their kids, that the moment that they stepped out the front door, that there was some dude behind the bushes that was going to butt fuck them right there on the sidewalk.
Grab them.
Right, immediate.
Jump right out of a bush.
Right, so you got to keep them tethered. To the wrist or whatever, like those kid leashes that got kind of popular there for a little bit. I haven't seen those in a while, but I remember when I went to Orlando one time, this would have been years ago, I did see multiple parents walking around with their kids on a leash, and I thought that was pretty hilarious, actually.
People, I've seen people say it's demeaning, but you got to do something to keep the little bastards under control.
Yeah, and a nice yank. You know what, Jaded? Maybe we did need those things when our kids were younger. That would have been so much easier when they got out of line. You would yank them like a dog.
Right? It would have been a lot less exhausting.
Yeah, and then you could just drag them out of the store behind you, and nobody would care.
I could have
if
just
someone
sat on
grabs
my
them,
couch.
someone grabs them, you can just yank them right the hell back.
You just sat on my couch and let them, run the dog run in the living room and shit while I watch TV. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and when they didn't get up, like if you told them to come help you do something, they wouldn't get up. You just yank their ass in there.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say maybe they'll make a comeback.
Maybe they didn't go anywhere. I just haven't. I've become quite the recluse since my kid got older. I'm not forced to have to go participate in things any longer. So I don't know. The environment out there is a lot scarier to me nowadays than it was back in the day, not because of any fear of violence, but just because of the social climate out there. Jesus Christ. I don't even want to tell a chick she's wearing a nice dress anymore.
Oh, hell no. That'll get you dead.
I'm dead serious. I am dead serious.
So am I. You will be a piece of shit. You tell a woman how nice she looks.
And then you start thinking about the old ex-girlfriends. Well, luckily I'm of no status, so I don't have to worry about anything. I have no money for anybody to come after. But then you look at these poor guys that are getting raked across the coals because they had a bad date or the breakup was bad. Like that Chris Hardwick guy. You saw he got his job back on The Walking Dead, or The Talking Dead, I guess.
I did see that, but it's never going to be the same for him.
No, it's not. She damaged him pretty good. But anybody that read that blog post from her could see that this is not what that Me Too movement was about. This is not it. I don't know what she is, but that she did not describe any type of a Me Too thing. She described a disgruntled girlfriend. And even that Aziz guy, I mean, that chick wrote up something on his ass, and she just described a bad date.
Literally
a bad date. It made this guy out to look like some fucking lech, some a borderline rapist. Yeah. Anyway, this was out of Massachusetts. This was what's this guy's name? Tom Wopat. You may remember him as one of the Duke boys in the Dukes of Hazzard television show.
he was not the good-looking one.
That was Schneider.
That was John Schneider. Yes.
No, that was their sister. I didn't like the show growing up, and this would have been geared directly towards me. I was at that age where Dukes of Hazzard was very popular when I was growing up, and I was never a big fan of it. I mean, I liked Chicken or Shorts was cool, and that Roscoe P. Coltrane. He was the only character on it that I actually even liked. But other than that, I just didn't really dig the show too much. But him and his co-star, John Schneider, have both been in some legal problems lately. Schneider is just basically a divorce where he owes a bunch of alimony, and he just recently told a judge, fuck it, can't pay it, just send me, and I'll do the 3 days in jail.
Lock my ass up.
Yep. And I $150,000. Let's say pay $150,000, spend 3 nights in jail. I would do the same thing. Just.
Well, geez, that's not a very fair trade.
I agree, but I don't know why this chick is asking for $150,000. I will never, ever understand the whole alimony thing, where they come up with these outrageous numbers for these very, very successful people. I will never get it. And I know some of it. Oh, he's on?
Yeah.
I just seen him pop in. But I will never understand it. I will never understand why some of these like athletes and actors and whatnot have to pay this inordinate amount of money to these women. But whatever. Don't want to come off as a misogynist.
Oh, too late.
I know, but I do think it's a bunch of bullshit in a lot of cases. But anyway, in the case of Tom Wopat, this is a completely different matter. I guess don't remember this, but I guess here recently or maybe last year, he was in some musical of 42nd Street. And he was, oh wow, I missed the D in the article. It's like 42nd Street without the D. I guess he was touching on some women in there, and they complained about it. And he supposedly put his finger between the buttocks of one woman. But what I did not know in the article was one of the women was actually a 15 or 16-year-old girl. Now he didn't go putting his finger in her butt crack with the girl. He just made some comments about him being a dirty old man, and I guess people had to come up to him and tell him, "Hey man, chill out."
Quit
with that
talking
shit.
about the dirty old man shit.
Right. So he ended up actually getting charged for whatever reason. I guess for whatever he actually did, he got charged with 2 felony counts of indecent assault and battery, 2 counts of annoying and accosting a person of the opposite sex, which I didn't even know was an actual charge, and a big fat drug possession charge because he was found with cocaine when they came and took him into custody.
Oh, of course he was.
Right.
Wait, did you see an annoying? He was just what?
Yeah, I guess in
Annoying
Massachusetts.
a woman?
Yeah, I guess in Massachusetts. There is a charge called annoying and accosting a person of the opposite sex. So yeah, I guess.
Oh my
You
God!
need to stay the hell out of Massachusetts then.
Yeah, I don't. I might have to look that one up and see the details on how the hell you would get charged with that. I guess maybe like if you poke somebody, I suppose that's what he did. He poked the 16-year-old's midriff.
If you stick your finger in their butt crack, that was the thing about that story to me. It's not like he just grabbed a butt. I mean, and I'm not defending that one way or another, but you stick your finger in a butt crack. That's a a bit more invasive than just a pat on the ass or something like that. So.
Agreed, and I think that's where those
Shows he's a classy guy.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, you look at him now though, and you can tell that this is one washed up dude. He may be a nice guy, I don't know, but he just looks like what you would think one of the Duke boys would look like at this point in time in their career. I mean, he's 60-something years old, and that's pretty much his claim to fame, right? He never went on to do anything else. Pagan, you would know that. You love this guy.
That damn Duke boy.
I told you. I said before you even got on that you would know Dukes of Hazzard.
Well,
But
yeah,
how
That's a sign that the Duke
you
boys
know.
got themselves into some trouble over at Cooter's place.
Yeah, you
That's
sound just
right.
like you sound like Jesse, and Pagan sounds just like Boss Hogg. You guys could like put on an actual radio show with us.
That's right. Now, you know, speaking of Cooter, now what did he do? Because I came in on the lake.
It wasn't Cooter. It was one of the Duke boys. As Jaded said, the not good looking one.
Well, when I'm thinking of Cooter, I'm thinking of something else.
Me too.
It
Yeah.
was an interesting choice of names.
Yeah, it really was.
So he didn't have his finger in the Cooter; he had it in the butt. Huh?
Right.
All
Right. And I think that's where the felony counts came from. And I think that the annoying and accosting a person of the opposite sex came from what he did to the 16-year-old girl, where I think he was poking her. He poked her in her midriff because had her midriff exposed or something, and he was poking her there or something to that effect. So, but annoying and accosting a person of the opposite sex is an actual charge in Massachusetts and maybe elsewhere. I don't know. I never heard of it till I wrote it that day. Anyway, he reached a plea deal where he had the 2 felony charges dropped. So he got a year of probation for the cocaine possession. No, he got a year of probation for the accosting a person of the opposite sex, and I think they stayed the cocaine possession. What the fuck was that? Sorry, something in the house fell. So yeah, that was it for that. And of course, his co-star, like I said, he was also in the news this month as well. So they both got in a little bit of trouble there.
They're trying to make a comeback.
I'm surprised did they ever bring the show back at any point in time? Like I know in the 90s that was a big thing, or the 2000s to bring some of these old shows back. But did Dukes of Hazzard get like a redo of any? I know the movie came out.
They got a movie. I don't think they got a redo though.
No, okay.
The movie's all I know of.
So I have a question for Pagan now that he's here.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if your computer is broken, how are you writing stories?
It's called iPhone X.
God damn.
So
That's dedication, brother.
So you're
That's
right.
dedication.
I am just pushing buttons with one finger.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow. I am not worthy.
I had no idea that you were writing those articles on a phone.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Yep. All phone, man. All phone.
I'm blown away.
mean-
Well, way to go.
Yeah. Well, my computer's down. My son has a laptop. My wife has a laptop. I've got a laptop, but it's very outdated. So, but maybe I could use it for that purpose. But it sits in a bag, so I don't use it. It just sits in a bag.
This site would have ended years ago had I had to do it by phone. There's no way.
Seriously.
Oh well, yeah. Yeah. it sucks.
That's amazing. I am actually quite blown away.
Yeah. I didn't get any in this week.
Nope.
Well, I can.
I blew my wad last week.
Hey, you got to save up for next week, man.
I got a finger cramp,
Well, like I said, we can get your computer thing done. You just need to set up a time. Hey, did anything happen at the Derby, the fair Derby?
Well, I'll tell you what. There was a bunch of screaming, yelling, rural people just enjoying a bunch of cars crashing into each other. I saw it from the top of the Ferris wheel as my son and I were going around and around and around. So every time we went to the top, I looked over, and I saw one time this guy, he went backwards and knocked the shit out of somebody.
You're talking about a Derby.
Yeah, crash up Derby.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of a dirt. It's got bleachers on each side, and it's like a grandstand. And in the middle is a dirt just dirt area, you know, and they watered it down. And yeah, they were just smashing it into each other.
Now, when you say little people were enjoying it, do you mean midgets, or there was like a lot of kids?
No, I mean there was a lot of kids, you know, adults, kids. But
I was like that would have been.
I didn't say little. I said rural, like RURAL.
Oh, I thought you said little people.
You know, farmers. No, that would have been great. Bunch of little people out there, but no, rural.
I gotcha.
Rural.
I gotcha. Yeah. I forgot where you
lived.
Yeah, I forgot.
Hard to say. Yeah.
Did you with a lot of straw hats and overalls?
Well, the older folk, you know, but the young people were pretty much tattooed up, and you know, that kind of atmosphere kind of looked like back in the day at an AC/DC concert or something.
No, you're.
You know,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Bunch of sleeveless shirts and you know,
salt of the earth.
Yeah, salt of the earth. That's right.
And some of them probably be on the Demon in the next week.
Some of them probably will. You know, they had their cowboy boots on, their blue jeans tucked in, and they had their Bud Light cans in hand.
Yeah.
Double fisting.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, speaking of drinking, we got a lady out of Lakeway, Texas, Adrienne Grace Moss, 34. She was facing or is facing abandoning or endangering a child. And some people didn't understand exactly how this had happened because some people don't.
I didn't.
Oh, come on, man! It was pretty easy to see. If you don't read past the title, then yeah, basically. I get this because one of the comments I thought was hilarious was she basically passed out in her truck and with the windows rolled up and her kid, I think he's 10, was in the back seat and he couldn't get her to wake up and he sat in the truck and this was like 100 and something degrees outside and for like an hour he tried to get his mom to get up and roll the window down or crank the car up, but she wouldn't. And he ended up using her phone, I guess, or maybe even his, I don't know, but called 911. And so the cops came out, and she had already gotten out, and it was belligerent and drunk, so she got charged for all that mess. But the one of the commenters had commented something about, you know, a 10-year-old knows how to open a door. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I know it's the same in my truck. That if I turn it off and I have the child lock things on or whatever, there's no way in hell they're going to get out of the back seat. I mean, they can't open the door. And I don't even know if it was a 4-door, if it was a 2-door, or how she passed out. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess if the 10-year-old wanted to climb all over, maybe I guess he could have done it. Maybe he's just retarded.
Well, maybe because I would have done anything I could to get the fuck out of that truck.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you know, you think she's 34, she's that much of a drunk. You got a drunk mom, and I've known plenty of drunk moms in my life. People I've known, friends I've known, this, that, and the other. You know, she smacked the shit out of that kid on a regular basis every time he annoyed her. He was probably scared shitless to wake her up for the first hour. You know what I'm saying?
He very well could have done. You're absolutely right. I know I looked up her Facebook page. She's got some big old titties. I know that. That's an important distinction. She's one of those.
Get on Facebook.
Well, if you do. And you can't miss her. The cops didn't. No, but I'll give her this much. And I know you can't base anything on Facebook, but sometimes you can. Sometimes we've actually, you can pull up some of these people on Facebook, and you're like, oh Jesus Christ, man, I can't even believe these people exist. But she doesn't look like one of those types of people that would end up doing something like, you know, passing out in a truck like this. But if somebody does this. She's done it before. I guess what I'm getting at is I don't think this is like her first rodeo. This is the first time she's ever drank and passed out.
Actually, I'd say she's probably pretty pro because she didn't have the keys in the ignition, and that's the key to beating a DUI right there, or not getting one. Is the keys ain't in the ignition. You weren't driving.
Oh yeah, you're right.
The worst you can get is the whole locked in the car with a kid, child abuse shit. You know. So
yep.
She knew what she was doing.
What did they say the temperature was? They said 104 degrees.
They said it was this is 123 in the car is what I'm seeing on the site.
Right, 123 in the car, 104 outside. So anyway, she's an
that's-
idiot, and she needs to do something about them eyebrows.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Doesn't
here.
need a kid, probably. Not at this point in her life, anyhow. Not responsible enough.
Nope. I was looking to see if there was any update on her, but I don't see anything from the last 3 days, anything new. But there's probably not much else to say about it. At least she didn't kill him.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see here. We got this guy. This was out of Utah. Alex Hidalgo, 37 years old. He stabbed his 10-month-old son to death. His girlfriend had left. It was their kid, but the girlfriend left him to watch the kid while she went and ran errands. And when she came back, he had, I guess, constructed some type of an altar because he said that the kid had 666, the number of the beast, on him somewhere. Yeah. Whenever I say that, that's the first thing that goes to my head is Maiden every single time.
Yeah.
But anyway, he stabbed the kid to death in the neck, and with a paring knife, which comes up twice this week. A paring knife.
Yeah.
So
Odd.
the new weapon of choice for crazy people. But
It's trending.
yeah, it is. I guess that's a good kind of knife for the two ways it was used. I mean, I would prefer to get stabbed to death with something bigger, but for a 10-month-old, I guess it's the same as a human.
Probably about the right size.
Yeah. So, I didn't know if there was any updates on this one. And Jade, there's not. I was just curious if they ever came up with anything else about this guy. But yeah, just one of them nutty guys that seems to always. What is it about religion, man, in the Bible? And I don't get where a lot of these people who kill their kids, it's always for some type of I'm saving them from hell type of reason. I don't get it. I don't get why. I don't get it. Oh, and did you know? And I put this in the article, and I've been waiting to do this for 14 years.
And you're absolutely right. What you're about to say.
Yeah, I thought this was crazy.
Fact.
That 666 is not the right number. I learned this like decades ago. I've just never had a chance to actually. Well, I'm sure in my youth when I was anti-religion and I took every chance I could to bring up any.
To 'em.
Yeah, it's such a retarded thing to do when I look back. It's kind of cringy when I look back at it. But that was always one of them. That 666 was not the quote-unquote number of the beast. It was actually 616. Which
It's like a bad area code.
Yeah, it is. But I was thinking, so all those songs and things would still work, though. You could still sing it with with 1 instead of 666. But I do think 666 sounds better. And there's actually a phobia, an actual name for people who have a phobia of the number 666 because of that. And it's not even the right fucking number.
There's a phobia for everything.
There really is. But
peanut butter on the roof of your mouth. That's a fucking phobia.
Is it really?
It is.
Wow.
Oh, you're not bullshitting.
No, I'm not bullshitting you. There's an actual fear of having peanut butter on the roof of your mouth.
Yeah. First world problems.
Wow. I didn't know. I guess I should have. You're right. I guess there's a phobia for every damn thing. And speaking of phobias, I'm reading that book. I don't remember the name of it, but it was the one I got you.
Chalkman?
No. The
other one. Yeah.
Because that woman has that phobia where she can't leave the house.
Agoraphobia.
So now is and just don't spoil anything, but I'm assuming that this is a rear window-ish type of a story where she's going to be observing the events of the book through her windows, and something happens where she has to beat her affliction and get out of her place.
Now, how the fuck am I supposed to answer that and not give the story away?
Don't. I know that's where it's going to go. They're setting this up for that. But I do actually because I love Rear Window so much, and I love that whole premise.
I liked that book for a minute.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I like Chalkman a lot better.
Did you already finish it?
I'm almost done.
Yeah, it's not bad. I liked it. We need to do a podcast on books and movies and stuff and music. especially since I know we got
Yeah.
some music.
I'll talk
music
about
people
metal.
in there.
I'll talk about metal all damn day long.
Well, I love a different type of metal. You like a particular type of metal, and I know Pagan likes it. And you and Pagan, I don't know. You guys might like the same thing. I don't know exactly. When you say old man metal, I think of Pagan metal, but I don't know if you listen to the same thing that he does.
That name, I've actually been using that name since 2004. Started posting on the boards at Metal Rules, which don't exist anymore. Sadly, they're gone. But it was a play on Old Man Winter. I figured I'd be the kind of poster that, like, you'd see me every once in a while. You'd never know I was coming. I'd come through and make a big mess, and then leave again, and you wouldn't see me again. And I didn't end up being that kind of poster at all. But that's where the name came from.
So, so you like metal in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since some people, a lot of us listened to it when we were kids. Most of us grow out of it. Some of us don't, and I'm one of the ones that didn't. So I'm a big metalhead.
I didn't at all. I mean, my musical taste has not changed since I was a kid. Aside from the fact that my genre of music didn't actually come to fruition until the late '80s, and that was with the whole punkish grunge alternative type movement. I mean, I still like metal pretty much of all types. The only kind I don't like is I don't like hair bands. Although at my age now, I can appreciate that they were just some idiots that were making a lot of money and getting a lot of pussy and making songs that were just kind of fun type songs. And I give them a little bit more slack now than I did then. I absolutely hated them back in the day. And
I was a prick about that stuff back then.
I
Morbid's a prick about it now.
I still am. But on our last podcast, I was telling Pagan I actually went back as one of my biggest disappointments was with Motley Crue, who I really loved their first two albums. Although
the first two were foundational.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's proto glam right there. That's great stuff. I still spin those all the time.
Yeah, they're great. They're still good to this day. And then, as we talked about on that last podcast, that Theater of Pain just was like a knife in the heart. And he still loves them. But I went back and gave a couple of their songs a listen when I went through a YouTube hole a while back and was just clicking on different videos, and I decided to cringe a little bit and watch some of them hair band videos, and some of them I still hate to this day, but the Motley Crue ones like Girl, Girl, Girls and Kickstart My Heart, when I listen to them now, no, I will never ever play those songs for me personally, but hearing them now after all these years, you're like, okay, they were just fucking off and having a good time with all that money and women, and so I guess I can kind of get the mentality of it. But when I was that age, I didn't have money. I wasn't getting lots of pussy, and I didn't see what they
couldn't relate.
I could not relate whatsoever. I absolutely 100% was on the opposite end of the spectrum with these guys, and so that's why I really, really like the whole grunge and alternative movement, where everything sucked. I should just kill myself. It was very nihilistic type of music, and I really, really loved it. And I still do to this day. Anyway, it's the some of the death metal. That's the shit that, and I'm not hating on it, but I can't listen to Cookie Monster singers too much. There's a couple bands that I give a pass to.
The death metal and black hybrid stuff. My taste over the years. If you'd have played this stuff that I listen to now for me when I was a kid, I'd have thought it was noise. I mean, my taste has just gotten more and more extreme. But death metal's an acquired taste. I mean, it's purposefully ugly music. It basically came out of it wasn't older musicians that developed it. It was kids, 18, 19-year-old kids that were pissed off about all the glam stuff and the bands you were talking about, screw their metal, and they, subconsciously or not, made ugly music that only a metalhead could love. So it's definitely, it's an acquired taste.
It is. And some of them I do like. There's some bands, there's Gojira. I don't mind the singing, and these aren't death metal bands, but they have that kind of vocal where it's that kind of more of a growling type.
The growl, yeah.
I like them. Septic Flesh, I like them a lot, but they have something in with their arrangements of using the orchestra type music in the background, kind of adds to the mood of it. But for the most part, don't hate it. I just don't listen to it. I know Pagan don't. I don't even know what the hell you listen to that's new. I think you're still stuck in the 88, 89.
I'm stuck from about 95 back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
like White Zombie was kind of like my last,
I understand that
big
actually
metal band.
because the metal, went basically a lot of the bands that were great in the early 90s were shit by the mid 90s. And I went through a period of time in the mid 90s where I didn't, for probably 3 years, I didn't buy any new metal. I was just listening to the old stuff because what was going on, I wasn't interested in. And but I, once there's started finding good stuff again, people started making good stuff. But I hear where you're coming from because there was a dry patch there. Absolutely. Pantera was the one that, people, a lot of elitists like to hate on Pantera, and you can say what you want, but the fact of the matter is they were making good metal all the way through the mid 90s, and they didn't change their sound and they didn't compromise.
Yeah, I remember when Pantera and White Zombie went on that double headlining tour. They'd alternate headlining in about the mid 90s, and that was pretty killer tour because I saw them in North Carolina. So
yeah, last concert I saw was that stupid ass Whitesnake one we snuck into.
Yeah, talking about being bored out of our minds one night, we rode by the what was called the Coliseum, and we were like, hey, what's going on over there? And we said, oh, look at the marquee, it's Whitesnake. Hey, let's go see what's going on. And we go into the building right there where the tickets are sold, and of course everybody's inside down in the arena or whatever, and we're at these little clickers, whatever you call them, and there's no security guards around. There's nobody around. Well, we saw one security guard, but he was like walking away from us. He was way on the other end, and we decided to leap over the little clickers there. And
I think he's talking about a turnstile.
Yeah, turnstile.
Okay.
There you go. I don't know what you call them, but anyways, yeah, where you walk through. And we just like leaped over it and just ran to the floor. And
it was the shittiest free concert I'd ever seen in my entire life. It was fucking horrible.
And what was funny was like how many guys we saw down there trying to, wearing the spandex. Remember?
Oh yeah.
And trying to look like David Coverdale or whatever. It was sickening, but we got a good laugh out of it.
This next story was out of North Carolina, Selma, North Carolina, and this was yours, Old Man Metal. This was what's her name?
What was her name?
Gloria Mitchell.
Gloria Mitchell, yeah, and Selma, North Carolina, and she really represented North Carolina well. This bitch can drink, man. 0.35% blood alcohol content almost. That's enough to kill an amateur, enough to kill probably most seasoned drinkers.
And almost breaks Jaded's record.
Hey.
And that's a hell of a record.
Yeah, this lady was ripped.
And not only that, when they finally subdue her ass and get her to the hospital, they drug test her, and she's got shitloads of weed and methadone in her system. So, she's doing the old redneck mix your own, that do it yourself shit. And the thing that hooked me about this was the mugshot initially. I'm 48, she's 45, and god damn, she is worn out looking. I mean, rode hard, put away wet.
She looks like some of the people that if you go on Facebook, or at least this has happened to me, is we've got a couple friends of ours that we went to school with, and when you would go back and look them up now and look at them, and it's like we've all aged. Don't get me wrong, we've all aged, but holy shit, some people really fucking aged. They've had some very, very hard lives since high school, and that's what this chick reminds me of. One of those rode hard and strung up wet looking chicks.
Yeah. So she was drinking, she was hanging out at the Knights Inn in Selma, and I've never been to the Knights Inn, but I can guess if she's hanging out there, it's probably a pretty upper crust place. And so she drinks, she does her drinking, and I guess for whatever reason she decided it was time to get in her pickup truck and fly across the parking lot backwards at a high rate of speed. She's got people screaming at her, trying to stop her, and she's not paying any attention to any of them, and ends up whacking into a U-Haul, and the U-Haul whacks into another truck. And it, you knock a U-Haul into another truck, you're booking. That's a lot of damn momentum to do that. Gets cut, all torn up in the wreck. They call the cops. The cops get there. She's raising hell, fighting, doesn't want to go to the hospital, doesn't want to cooperate with the cops, bleeding everywhere. And someone walks up to the cop and hands him a leash. And the cop's like, well, what in the hell is this? The guy said it was the other end of it's over there. She had a dog tied to the bumper of her truck, excuse me. It couldn't have been a car, had to have been a truck. In the midst of all this stuff, she had a little puppy tied to the bumper of her truck. And when she went flying across the parking lot, the puppy didn't make it. And so that was the really bad part of the story. I mean, the guy with the U-Haul, he's probably pissed and she's pissed and the cops are probably pissed because they had to deal with her dumb ass. But, the puppy got the worst of it. Definitely. So
I'm pretty sure she was all, it weren't mine.
Yep. I had never seen that leash before in my life.
Ain't my
Ossifer.
dog.
Ain't my damn dog.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So she got DWI, careless and reckless, communicating threats because she threatened cops the whole way to the hospital, and felony animal cruelty. So,
Well, that's a good charge. I'm looking to see if there's any updates, and I don't see anything right off the bat. But I was curious when she was going to be back up for court again. Yeah, I might keep an eye on this one just to see what they sentence her with. I'm not sure about North Carolina. I don't think we were one of the lax states when it came to animal cruelty. I mean, I think we were on par. I don't think we were one of those states to where you get a slap on the wrist for it. So she could actually be looking at a good chunk of jail time.
well, hopefully she gets in a cell with someone who loves puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see who we got here. This story, and Jaded, I might get you to look this one up if you can. See if there's any updates, because I do have a little bit of extra info on these beautiful people that I'm showing on the screen right now, especially that guy on the bottom right. Anyway,
Good.
Yeah, he's bad. This is out of Meeker, Oklahoma, where 4 family members have been arrested after a 15-year-old boy was found starving to death inside a barn.
It's like Tweaker, Oklahoma, but different.
Right. By looking at the people, especially the two brothers. Holy
It looks like
shit.
Tweaker, Oklahoma.
Yep. And so, well, supposedly what happened was a passerby. I don't know. They didn't go into much detail on who actually called this in, but they saw the 15-year-old and were concerned by the way he looked. Said he only weighed like 80 pounds. And so she had called police to do a welfare check, which they did. And police found this 15-year-old boy was living in a barn. He had head injuries, some broken bones, and he had shotgun pellets lodged in his leg after being supposedly shot by his father. So after it was all said and done, they arrested the boy's father, Jimmy Jones Sr., stepmother, Amy Jones, and the 2 stepbrothers, Jonathan Luke Plank and Tyler Joe Atkins. And that's the 2 gentlemen that you see here at the bottom that look like they come right out of a fucking horror movie, dude. This is
It looks like a same-sex Jack Spratt and his wife couple, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. That's some wrong turn looking shit right there, these 2 guys. But what I found out, there's no defending. When they took this kid to the hospital, it turns out that he wasn't allowed to get food from the house, so he had been eating what he could forage. And despite living on a farm, he was eating, camper salad, basically sticks, leaves, and grass. And he had to get admitted to the hospital not only because of the injuries and to remove the pellets out of his leg, but they think that they may have to remove all the grass and sticks and shit that he had been eating out of his stomach.
He'd been living with goats for 2 years. I think he had just imprinted on them, man.
Right. Well, what I read was there were some people defending this family. So, and granted, I know there's always 2 sides of these stories, and
Sure.
We're not out looking for the truth for the most part. We're just reporting what's already been reported on. So I don't really go into too many details and trying to find out. I'm not digging for the truth or screaming for justice in any type of way. But in this particular case, I did go to look to see what some of these defenders were saying, and it's still bad. But supposedly, when they say that he lived in a barn, it was actually like a loft. It was a loft that had been set up as a room. of some type. So yeah, I mean, he was living in a barn, but it was actually like a loft. I'm not going to say a furnished loft apartment, but it was like a loft type area that he was living in.
He was at least up off the ground and away from the goats.
Right. The way they make it sound like he was tied up with the animals or something in the barn. And again, it could be just as bad as it was first reported. But when you look at the other side of things, it's probably, my guess, it was bad, not like horror movie bad. It was bad. The situation was.
Was living in a pit.
Right. But when you start talking about that this kid's eating sticks and grass and leaves, and you start really kind of hedging more towards the horror stories thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the little part that kind of just tips the scales just a tad to me. That no matter how much they try to sugarcoat it, I mean, how does that even happen?
And here's another piece that I didn't see included in your story. So forgive me if I step on toes with this and looking for the update. There isn't any updates. But he had a head wound, apparently. And he said that his head wound had previously been infected with maggots. And his dad had taken the scissors to get all of the maggots out of the wound before sealing it with super glue.
So he's resourceful.
So, Dad?
Yes.
Okay, I guess we can call it that. Yeah.
Now I saw some.
Have your stick salad and let's take the maggots on the side.
We'll de-tick you and glue you up, and you'll be fine. Quit crying.
But he did not say how the head wound occurred. But yeah, if you got maggots coming out your head, I'm sorry if you live in a loft or a studio or a 3-bedroom fucking house. That's pretty fucking gross.
No, I agree, and I think we can see what happened. That this kid was just being the dad was probably treating him like shit, and the stepmom and her kids weren't treating him any better.
The stepmom is one mean-looking bitch, man. She looks like she'd whoop your ass.
Well, if you go to her Facebook page, which is still there and was still open, people have been having a field day.
Yeah, they were raising hell with her, brother.
Oh yeah. And but she had lots of videos about horses, selling horses. So I don't know if they were just maintaining a farm that was owned by somebody else, but it doesn't look like this is the type of people that would own a bunch of horses. That takes a lot of money. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Meeker, Oklahoma. I don't know. Maybe that's an easy thing to do. I don't know.
Weren't my kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting is there's a little detail, but it stuck out at me. If you look at the mug shots, the two parents, or the father and stepmother, whatever in the hell they call themselves, not parents in any way, got taken to one county jail, Lincoln County, and the two Tweaker brothers got taken to Pottawatomie County. So they took the kids to jail in a different county. Wonder if they're trying to get them away from mom.
Yeah,
I don't
know. That's a good question, but I'll tell you this: my boy Tyler. Holy shit, man! I mean, dude, look at that mugshot. That's monstrous, like an actual monster.
And them eyes are just dead as could be, man.
God damn.
Yeah, I think I seen them out at the fair tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
I mean.
Pottawatomie. Someone in chat just said thank you.
Jimmy Jones was probably operating your Ferris wheel.
Yeah, well, that was the one on the left, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was. He was operating the scat ride.
That guy right there, the wide-eyed guy, looks like every single ride operator at Myrtle Beach when I was growing up.
Yeah, he looks like he's been hitting the meth pipe.
Definitely. He's ready to go for about 3 more days. He's like, fuck it, give me some twigs and sticks. Just watch me go.
He's not winding down anytime soon.
No.
Now, this next story was the one that there was a lot of extra info coming out after the fact. And I don't even want to try to pronounce this. This is out of Louisiana.
Do it.
Natchitoches.
Natchitoches. Is that a new Fox meal at Taco Bell?
It could be. Natchitoches. Yeah, it sounds like something you
Nacho.
Shit blood for a week on that.
Nachi Toches. Nachi
I know how it's pronounced, but it won't come out my face right.
Take an order of those nachi choches.
Yeah.
And
I'd like two burritos. You remember back when Taco Bell first came out, that when you ordered, because they only had like 6 things you could order, and when you on their menu in parentheses they would have the pronunciation of the word. So like if you wanted a taco, in parentheses it would be TAH-CO, or burrito would be BURR-EE-TOE, burrito.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night we went to Taco Bell and we ordered? It was like 1 a.m. or whatever. We was like 19, and I ordered a beef burrito, and I said, "Hold on a minute, let me check it out." And I opened it up, and there was fucking beans in it. And I said, "Drive back around, drive back around, drive back around." And all those dudes were like sitting there, at the window, the homeboys. And I said, "Hey," I said, "I ordered a beef burrito, you dumbasses," or whatever I said. And they looking at me, and I said, "Here, you fucking eat it." And I threw it, and it smashed all over the damn drive-through window. Do you remember that, Morbid?
No, any drive-through story I have forgotten, aside from the buddy of ours when we went to McDonald's, and I was driving, and he wanted to go to McDonald's, and so we was in the drive-through, and he ordered whatever the fuck he ordered, and the guy said, "Will that complete your order?" And it was obviously a black kid, but he was like, "Will that complete your order?" And my buddy says, "That'll do it, buckwheat." And I was like, "Oh, you fucking son of a bitch! Why
That's
did
a great
you do
way
that?"
to get your food spit in.
That's what I told him.
Oh.
That's what I told him. But I was more worried about getting our asses kicked when we pulled around because this was
you yanked your ass through that little window.
Right, because I already knew I wasn't eating shit they gave us. That was done the moment he said buckwheat. But yeah, when we pulled around, this was back when the drive-thrus only had one speaker, and you had to go around the corner. We went around the corner, and there's about 5 or 6 people in that window waiting for us. And
just waiting.
They were screaming and hollering at us, and I was like,
"You remember when you used to order a hot fudge sundae, and they'd ask you if you want nuts with that?"
Oh yeah, and you couldn't quit giggling because you're an idiot. Yeah, not you. I just mean, I remember
in general.
Right.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of a drive-through one time. I think it was a McDonald's. It's kind of hazy, for screaming fucking Slayer into the little speaker.
I can still remember we used to go to McDonald's just to order we'd order a cup of water and some straws. Do you remember that shit? It was like, I mean, how apparent was that shit what we were up to that night?
Oh, yeah, it was too lazy to get out of the car. Go in and get a
we did a cup of water and we get a couple straws, please.
Weird. All I've ever done was order. I mean, wow. I don't even have any fast food stories to add to this.
Oh no, those were actual the tame fast food. But I remember being on acid with a chick that I had just met that day, and she had already taken me out to a graveyard to pay respects to her brother while playing Journey's Greatest Hits in my car. And
the weirdest shit happens when you're tripping, man.
Dude, every time. And I was flying. And so I listened to Journey. Went out to this graveyard to find out later she didn't ever have a brother, so I don't know who the fuck's grave we were standing at that day. But everything was going fine, and we went to a Burger King drive-thru, and when I got up to the window, there's this big black woman sitting there with the food, and I must have had this stupid smile on my face, and she actually says, "What the fuck are you smiling at?" While I'm tripping,
While you're tripping.
And that was like the absolute worst fucking thing that anybody could have ever said to me at that exact moment. Because I went from being like sky high, having a pretty cool, weird day, knowing I was about to get laid, down into the spiraling bad trip hole of crap. Because she said that comment. I don't know if any of you guys, which I'm assuming probably everybody has done acid at one point in their lives, but there's just triggers that can just send. An acid trip can do a U-turn on a dime. And that's all that took for me that night was her thing. And I'll never forget her, though. It's funny now. I'd like to find her to this day and just tell her that she actually
Tell her the story.
Yeah, I still tell a story about you 20 years later. Or I guess 30
I've definitely had one sentence turn me into a white-hot fucking rage. It wasn't a spiraling whole depression, but it was ugly. So I hear you.
Yeah, no, those are the worst. The acid stuff is just the absolute worst. But I could tell 1,000 damn stories from. There was a time period back when we were growing up where there was a drought in our area, and you had two choices to get fucked up because weed was gone, unless you wanted to try smoking some shit that you might get for $5 or whatever, and God knows what it was. So you had
oregano.
Yeah, but I know we did that, and I remember the one time.
Man, if it's oregano, you can use it to season your soup, you beaner.
That or the guy that tried to sell us shit with a rock in it. It's just people really taking advantage of people during this drought period. But so you had only a couple choices, and that was drink or acid or both. And acid was a lot cheaper. So I remember there was a good chunk of my teenage years was marred. I don't want to say marred. That sounds negative. We actually had some really good times on that stuff, and I don't remember, but only a couple bad.
Yeah. Well, that was like, speaking of Slayer, when we were waiting all night for those Rolling Stones tickets at Camelot the next morning, I was going to get in line and get those Rolling Stones tickets. We never took Slayer out that night. It played constantly. It just kept playing over and over.
Yeah, my dumbass and this dumbass decided to take acid to wait on Rolling Stone tickets to go on sale the next morning at a music store. What our dumbasses didn't realize is that those people that were getting the tickets already had wristbands to get them. We didn't have anything like that. So we tripped and stayed up and drove around town all night until daylight and ended up at this music store to find out we couldn't get jack shit.
Yeah, that dick said, "You got your wristband?" It was like, what wristband? No wristband, no tickets, man. Oh, shit. I was so pissed.
Yeah, that was a crazy night. I thought we both had a mutual hallucination. We were at a intersection. I mean, it was like 4 a.m. There was nothing out there. And it just so happened that it timed to where when we stopped at a light and there was nothing, it was deserted. There was one other car. We were going straight. They were taking a left in front of us. So when their light turned green first to let them take their left, when they drove in front of us, the passenger seat guy, and to this day, dude, I've told the story 100 times. To this day, the guy was either wearing a Halloween mask or he was making a face that was so fucked up that it freaked both me and him out at the same time because I thought that I had hallucinated it. And at first I didn't say anything because I didn't want to admit that I just had a hallucination because I've never hallucinated off acid. I mean, you get weird visual stuff, but I've never hallucinated something that wasn't there. And that's how you can always tell if somebody took acid or not when they start talking about the hallucinations they had. And you're like, okay,
absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, I always remember that guy that passed by us. It was like what it reminds me of now. If you've ever watched Jacob's Ladder, there's creatures in Jacob's Ladder, and that's exactly what that shit reminds me of is that. But anyway, back to this Natchitoches, Louisiana story. This is one where there's some more info came out on, and the way it was first reported, this woman says that somebody knocked on her trailer door. Hannah Barker said somebody knocked on her trailer door, and when she opened it, there was a woman standing there, Felicia Smith, and 2 men, and they sprayed her in the face with mace. So she freaked out and ran from the trailer. And when she circled back around to get the kid she left in her trailer, 6-month-old Levi Ellerby, he was gone. Everybody was gone. There was nobody there. So she called police. Police come out and start searching around. It wasn't long before somebody reported a fire by some railroad tracks that were like a mile away. And it turned out that the fire was actually the baby boy. Somebody had set him on fire while he was alive because he was still alive when they took him to the hospital, but he ended up dying from his injuries. So they arrested this Felicia Smith, and she's been charged with murder at the time when I wrote this, and they hadn't mentioned the other quote-unquote suspects that were supposedly with her. Now, after I wrote this up, a lot more info come out. Some of it started with rumors off of Facebook, and I don't normally put those in the article, or at least not as fact, just because, for obvious reasons. But it turns out there may be some credence to it, to where I think what it's turning out that they're saying is that this Felicia Smith and Hannah Barker were in some type of a sexual relationship together. So unlike the first reports where Hannah Barker was saying she had never seen these people and didn't know who they were, it's turning out now that's not the case at all, that this lady accused of murdering that baby actually did know the family. And the last update I saw is they actually did arrest Hannah Barker, and she's been charged with murder as well. So I don't know if you're seeing anything different or if you've looked, but that was the last update that I saw, that now it's both her and Levi's mother have both been charged with his death.
Yeah, that's the last update too. So nothing new.
That didn't surprise me at all. And I mean, I guess I've been reading the Demon for a long time, but the story just, a mother gets maced and she automatically runs away versus, trying to, I think most parents would retreat into the house where the kid is and try to shut the door or something. She runs off and comes back and the kid's missing. Just too convenient.
Agreed. But the only reason why, and I didn't even really put too much thought in this particular article, because I guess the story had come out already, not with her being this woman Felicia Smith being arrested, but when the baby was first found, because some people are already blaming the mother already. But the only reason why I was giving her any benefit of the doubt, and I still don't know her exact involvement, and I know this is going to sound very weird coming from me, especially as stupid as people are on our site that we talk about, but I didn't see the benefit of her calling the police at all if she was actually involved in it, or at least not with that particular story of not, you know what I mean? I mean, she could just be a complete moron, and that would make sense, I guess, but there were just weird details in it that if she was trying to get out of actually having anything to do with murdering her kid, she would have had to have known that it was going to come out very quickly that she did indeed know the woman. You know what I mean? So I was giving her a little bit of a benefit of the doubt that maybe there was some mistaken identity, or maybe there was some drug-related stuff involved, that she owed him money or something. That's what I thought until they charged her.
Right.
But you're saying that
drug debt would make sense. I mean, it's Mayberry Trailer Park.
Right. Well, I thought, okay, so maybe she owed him some money. They came to collect. They sprayed her. She ran. They panicked. Didn't know, hey, there's this kid. Maybe they're going to, idiots, we're going to hold it for ransom. They panicked and then set the kid on. And none of it makes any sense whatsoever. But
how the fuck do you even set a kid on fire? That takes some doing.
Oh, dude, that takes a total sociopath or some. I don't know how you set anybody on fire, but not a 6-month-old kid.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Can you imagine how that thing screamed?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Lock them all up.
I was looking at some of the. I haven't been paying attention to chat, and I was just looking. Somebody had told something. Oh, they were doing some commenting on the our hair metal discussion. Let's see here. We got man caught on video sexually assaulting girlfriend's 4-year-old son. There's not really a lot to the story. That was basically it. That I guess that this guy, 28-year-old Dean Davis, and there's not, and again, I mean, not a lot of details. I don't know exactly how all this came to light, how police even got involved, but supposedly he got captured on home video sexually assaulting his girlfriend's 4-year-old boy, and that the mother knew about it and didn't call police to turn him in or anything. So I don't know what happened to where they have both been charged. He, of course, for sexually assaulting the kid. Her, I guess, for not reporting it. And also it looks like because she was stealing the kid's medication. I don't know what he was taking, but I'm going to assume it was an opioid of some type, because that seems to be what everybody wants to be addicted to nowadays. But And that was basically it. There's not been much else to the story aside from the kid and two of his siblings being put with children's services. But I don't know if you see anything on that, Jaded, or not. But I was kind of curious, and I forgot to look. But how did this even come to light? If it was captured on surveillance video and she didn't report it, how did it even get reported? I thought maybe the 4-year-old may have said something. I don't know.
That's the $1,000 question. And how did the cops get? How do the cops get the surveillance footage? I mean, obviously they would have gone into the house with a warrant. So what gave them probable cause for the warrant?
Yeah, I wish they would have kind of gave some more info on that. But I'm looking, and there's not been anything reported since we did on the 24th. I was just looking here. Yeah, there's no. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here's one that's got a little bit more info.
All right.
And it's even worse.
Oh, Lord. How does it get worse?
Mother's boyfriend sexually assaults her son, makes him eat shit while mom steals her children's meds.
Yeah, that's worse. That's worse. You add shit eating, it makes anything worse.
Yeah, it says, an investigation into Samantha Ward and her live-in boyfriend began in April after a third party witnessed video footage depicting the apparent sexual assault of a child captured by home security cameras and subsequently reported it to police. So there's that answer. Somebody actually saw the video and called police. Authorities say the video shows Davis sexually assaulting Ward's 4-year-old son and further stated that the mother was aware of the crime yet failed to report it. The woman has 4 children ranging in ages from 4 to 13 years old. Court documents state that Davis also stands accused of forcing the boy to eat feces. Investigators only recently gained access to the footage, leading to the filing of additional charges. So that's why there's a little bit more info. I guess some more stuff happened.
Okay.
Huh. Type of medication hasn't been revealed.
I've actually pulled up a pic of her.
Oh, yeah. There she is.
Yeah, she's rough looking.
And them
Sorta.
stupid-ass glasses.
Obviously, it's opioids, I mean.
Well, she's that rough looking. That was like
fucking allergy medication.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you can tell she actually. I can't see her body, of course, but face wise, she's like one of them chicks. You could tell that if she wasn't in this particular lifestyle, she may have been okay looking.
Right.
Maybe. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the extra info, I guess, on this one. That it was somebody saw the video and called police on him, and I guess he was making the kid eat shit too. So
at least someone in the story did the right thing. Whoever saw it and reported it.
I may update that one later tonight.
I think that's worth updating. I mean that like I said, adding eating shit to anything makes it worse. That or sharks.
Yeah, or both. And
or
then
both.
The last number one story we've got currently listed was your story, Old Man Metal, out of South Carolina, the gentleman with the plethora of drugs and a vacant colon.
This guy had a pharmacy, and the thing that gets me about obviously this guy's got they popped him with amphetamine, dexamphetamine, oxycodone, clonazepam, MDMA, which is ecstasy, weed. 2 powders that the cops weren't even able to figure out what the hell they were. So God only knows what that was. Obviously, the guy's got that much drugs on him, that many different things. He's out dealing, and he's driving down the road smoking a joint. And that's what gets me about these guys is, if you're going to be a criminal, you're going to run drugs, whatever. You be smart about it. Real quick story. A buddy of mine used to be a cop in Raleigh. At one point in time, he had the state record for crack cocaine seizure. $90,000 worth of crack he took off a guy. Took it off the guy, pulled him over because he was speeding. Okay. So you got $90,000 worth of crack under your seat and you're speeding. If he hadn't been speeding, he wouldn't have got pulled over. So he was. My buddy pulls him over. And he asked the guy, he says, you mind if I search the car? Because the guy's speeding. He's got out-of-state plates. He's like, well, shit, I'll go fishing. The guy says, yeah, sure, search the car. If you got drugs in the car, don't let them search the car, man. People are stupid. And this guy was stupid, too, because he's driving down the road with all these drugs, smoking a joint. He gets pulled over for a moving violation. They didn't say what it was, and that's your cop fishing right there. That's what they do. You don't signal a turn or something. They want to see what you got in the car. They're going to pull your dumb ass over for a moving violation. And if you're not smoking a fucking joint, you can maybe not get screwed, but he's smoking a joint, and cops can smell weed smoke, and that's just the way it is. You think they can't, but they can. They find out he's driving on a suspended license. So at that point, they're able to arrest him, and they search the car. They find all the drugs, and okay, another dumbass drug dealer goes to jail. Nothing new there. So they get him to jail, and when they put you in jail, they search you. And when they search you, one of the places they search is your ass, because if you read the Demon, people hide all sorts of illicit shit in their ass. It's called a prison wallet, actually. That's cop slang for it. It's a prison wallet. Which I think is funny, but I guess people in prison probably don't. You keep your valuables in your ass, like whatever that movie was. So they get him to jail, and they search him, and they find out the dude's got 1.25 ounces of meth up his ass. Wow. And 1.25 ounces of powder is not a little bit of powder, man. That's a good bit of powder. And, the thing for me with this story was there's an evidence photo, and it's one of the links off the story. They show all the stuff that they took off of him, and one of the things that they show is this black bag that he had in his ass, right? And that's something that never made sense to me. How do you hide something in your ass? You shove it in your ass, and then how do you get it back out again? That just never clicked with me how you do that. Now having seen it, I know you take this bag and you shove it in your ass, and that turns your ass into like a pocket, and then you can just pull the bag back out to get everything back out.
And I'm putting the picture up because I didn't realize the link that I put in there did not work. So I
told you days ago.
I didn't see it until way too
late. Well, that's
late.
probably my bad because I sent you the link. So
I should have checked it. But now I'm putting the picture up where you can actually see some of the things not only he was busted with, which was a shitload of drugs, and what I'm assuming is the giant ass bag that he
that's
had
the black thing
head.
On the right, lower right, yeah.
That is a big bag.
Pocket.
Jamie,
so he's a pro. He's a pro.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of stuff.
He ain't very smart, but he's a pro.
What is the bobblehead character up at the top though? Is that like the cops?
I have no idea, man.
So on the right is the bag.
Yep.
Wow.
I guess if
like
you
I
roll
said,
it
this
up tight enough.
But an ounce, I go back to 1.25 ounces of powder up your ass. That's a lot of stuff to shove up your ass. I mean, and he looks like the kind of dude that, if you said something to him about shoving something up his ass, he'd probably give you a severe beating.
Oh yeah.
He looks like the kind of guy that would be like, I don't play that ass stuff. But and so to break that down a little bit further and think about it a little bit, you got all these drugs in your car. The ass satchel doesn't do you any good if you don't shove everything up your ass. If you've got all these drugs out in the car, it doesn't matter that you've got some of it up your ass. You've either got to shove all of it up your ass, or you're wasting your time shoving up anything up your ass. So then I'm wondering, maybe the guy's not that bright. I don't know the guy, but to me, I'm logically figuring out I might as well not even shove anything up my ass.
Well, that's
because I'm going to get busted with it anyhow.
That's my first question: is when he went out that night, he has all these drugs. More than likely, I think it's pretty obvious for distribution. But out of everything that he had, he decided that the meth should go up his asshole. So why just the meth?
It makes no sense.
He didn't have time to do it after he got busted unless he's really good.
He'd have been a quick packer.
It's like as soon as he saw the blue lights, he just started shoving shit up there. That's the first thing that went.
It's like that Cheech and Chong thing where they eat all the drugs, but backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Would the meth hold the highest sentence if busted with it?
No, I think the prescription stuff would.
As much as he had, they got him for trafficking on meth. So quantity-wise, but the thing is, with opioids the way they are nowadays, and South Carolina and North Carolina, what they do in North Carolina is they weigh the pills. They don't charge you with there's 10 milligrams of morphine in this pill. They weigh the fucking pill and charge you with that weight. And the pills are like 99% filler. So
yeah, now you're right.
you're not you. I think it's a toss up, but he just had so much meth that it ended up being a trafficking charge. And then of course he got popped for prisoner in possession of contraband. And you see that a lot in the Demon in different places. Someone has something up their ass or up their coochie or wherever the hell they've got it hidden, and they forget about it, or they think that they're not going to get searched. And yeah, that's just extra charges there. You bring shit into a jail and you get charged for it. So
yeah, we've had multiple women getting busted with guns where they shoved guns up themselves, and I always thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
I just brought up an old story where that woman had $51.22 up her vagina.
She's making change and shit, man.
Yeah.
54 bags of heroin, 31 empty bags that are used to package the heroin,
because you got
8.5 generic Xanax pills, and $51.22.
Good God, you had a purse.
That's a pro.
That's not a pussy. That's a purse.
That's like that Dirty Harry movie with the pimp and the hoe. And he said, "Where's the titty bank and the pussy bank? Where's the rest of the money, bitch?" Remember that? I can't remember which movie that was. It was one of the Dirty Harrys when the pimp. Poor Drano.
Oh, yeah, poor Drano. Yeah, I love that movie.
Someone in chat said the feds charge for carrier too on pills, so apparently the feds will weigh the pills too. So you just there's nothing good opioids. No,
I like them, but they're a problem. That is for sure. A lot of people can't seem to handle them at all. But and I know a lot of them are being made into drug addicts. They didn't start that way. Doctors were so they would hand those things out like Willy Wonka. They would prescribe them to where these normal housewives or whatever were taking these for legit reasons, but. Anybody who's ever taken opioids can tell you those things are awesome. They're fucking awesome.
I've seen that dynamic firsthand. I've seen someone, legit get prescriptions years ago because they hurt their back at work, and 30 years later the doctors still got them on it. They'd beg, borrow, or steal to get that shit.
Oh yeah, and that's usually how it's happened. Now they're trying to put the brakes on it, which is just causing its own type of problems. I don't think there's any other way around it except put a stranglehold on how they're doled out. I know somebody personally here recently that has kidney stones in their kidneys.
Oh wow!
And normally, I remember somebody else having them at least 10 years ago, and they got a full prescription, a Percocet of some type. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a full prescription because they were making some side money off of it. And but they just got diagnosed and they got five Percocets. So I know that they're trying to cut down on how often that they're prescribing those things out, but I don't know what good it's going to do.
I passed a kidney stone in 92. Took me 2 weeks to pass that son of a bitch. It would move and then stop for a day and move and stop for a day, and I went through 2 40-tab bottles of Dilaudid.
Oh yeah, I could.
And it was the weak Dilaudid. It was the little 5 milligram shit. But I mean, that much pain, I would not want to. And I've thought that I would not want to have another kidney stone nowadays because that's the downside. Like you said, people that need it can't get it, or
Correct.
It's a lot tougher for them to get it.
Yeah, I've never had a kidney stone, knock on wood, but my old man and Pagan's old man are two of the toughest men I've known. These are old school dudes, war guys, and it's the kidney stones were the only thing I've ever seen that just pretty much brought my old man to his knees. So when I saw the pain that he went through with those things, to where they had to go in and use sonar to try to break them up.
The lithotripsy.
Yep. When I saw the shit he went through, knowing how tough that guy is, I just was like, I'd probably just blow my fucking brains out.
It's the same pain as getting kicked in the balls, but it's a lot more intense, and it's in a different location because it's obviously not in your balls, but it's that same type of deep-seated, debilitating. I mean, it's fucking horrible.
I dread it. I hope I never ever get something like that. This sounds horrendous. Hell, just having a kidney infection about scared the shit out of me. I know I thought I had AIDS.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I did.
I'm gonna die, Lord. I'm gonna die. Done got the HIV.
Yep, that's what I thought. I mean, just got up, felt fine, went to go take a leak, and thought I pissed out razor blades, and it's like, yep, I got AIDS.
I'm dying. God damn it.
Yeah. I remember my mom's an RN, and so I remember calling her and saying, "Look, I don't want to go into detail or anything, but and kind of give the gist of what it was, and that I had AIDS and was going to die." And she was like,
"You don't want to worry her,
right?" And she was like, "Son, it sounds like you just got a kidney infection." And so, anyway, I went and got those pills, and holy man, that was the. I mean, I don't know if you can imagine that every time. I don't know if you've ever had anybody here's had a kidney infection, but when you piss, it actually feels like you're pissing gasoline that somebody had lit, and it was just horrendous. But other than that, it didn't hurt. As long as you weren't pissing, it was a normal day. So the dread that would build in you when you realized you had to go take a piss and you knew what was going to happen, and then you would just have to just sit there and just grit your teeth and bear it. But anyway, as soon as you take those pills, the pain totally went away almost immediately, but your piss looked like it was radioactive, and that was the only real side effect of it. Anyway,
Billy, drink your milk. No.
Yeah, old man, I didn't want to drink anything. We got a couple more stories here, and I don't know if we may save them till next week, because they're pretty good ones, and I'm pretty sure that they will be there next week. So I may save them because we've got the man that cut off the other dude's dick. We got the woman that stabbed her fiance. You know what? We can go ahead and talk about them real quick if you want to, but we've been running an hour and a half. It's up to you guys if you guys want to keep going or if we got to cut it and we can save it for next week.
It's your call. It's your show. It's your site. I'm good. I can keep going.
It's up to you two then. Do you guys want to talk about these later? Or you guys got to get going.
Doesn't matter to me.
Jaded?
I was thinking.
Oh my God! Fallout 4, your community's safe. They'll be okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, we maybe we won't do them all, but at least this way, when we start next week, we'll have a clean slate. But we got the gentleman in Thailand cut off his employee's dick. It was him and two other men were at a house drinking. And when the man and his friend went to go get more alcohol when they ran out, he left his employee at his house with his wife. And I'll get into why this whole thing sounds a little sketchy. Left his employee at the house, and when he pulled back up or came back home, his wife comes running out saying that his employee had went into her room in just his shorts and had woke her up by stroking her arm. So the employer, the boss man, goes in there and starts yelling at the man, beats him with a hammer. And when he's incapacitated, he pulls off his shorts and uses a fruit paring knife to cut the man's dick off. And then he tosses the guy's dick out in the yard for the dogs to eat. He then tells the neighbors to take the dude to the hospital. So the guy goes to the hospital. He wakes up there without a dick, and he doesn't remember anything. He just remembers he was drinking with his friends. He doesn't remember anything other than that. And that's basically the story. I guess the husband, he did get charged. I don't know if there was any more updates on this guy, especially since it was in Thailand. But who thinks it was weird that the moment he comes back home is right when the wife comes running out of the house, right? So as somebody else brought up, I was thinking, what if they were actually messing around, right? Dude's drunk. They're messing around, and the husband comes pulling up, and to save face, she just goes running out at that moment, accusing this other guy of touching her, right?
Throws him to the wolves.
Right, and then this dude ends up getting his damn dick cut off over it.
Well, throws his dick to the wolves anyhow.
Yeah, they couldn't find the damn thing. They went back to look for it, and they couldn't find it, so he just has no dick.
Yeah, you're done.
I mean... And the fact that he was drunk and doesn't remember anything that happened, so he'll always assume that, not that he deserved it, but he brought this onto himself from drinking because he went and started fucking around with some dude's wife. And maybe that's exactly what happened. I'm just saying it just kind of weird the timing that as soon as he got home is exactly when she comes running out of the house.
Yeah, you're probably right. They probably were fooling around.
That's what we're going to say. That's what I'm going.
Yeah,
with.
Yeah. That's it. And I'm betting Permsack was the boss. I'm betting he doesn't have any world's best boss coffee mugs in his fucking house.
No. Let me. And somebody was saying, I think in our forum, somebody made an asinine comment. You never hear this happen in America. Only happens in shithole countries in Thailand. Did you see that comment?
Fuck?
Yeah, and I'm like, dude. I mean, we posted so many stories from the United States of women just totally attacking men's dicks. It's not even funny.
How can
Knives, hot water, everything.
You just ain't read the site.
Yeah, or they're trolling because it did, of course, get people riled up. So it's easy to troll the forum members. It looks like. Let's see here. Colorado Springs, Colorado. This is where the woman stabbed her fiance to death during an argument over a wedding guest. 31-year-old Jacqueline Souza and her fiance, 33-year-old Brandon Watkins. They were at a bar celebrating their upcoming wedding and his new job. And on the way back home, they got into a verbal argument because the dude wanted to invite an ex-girlfriend to the wedding, or had invited this girl to their wedding, which for one's not a good idea anyway. But she really didn't like it because she was under the impression they were still having a sexual relationship. So the fight turned physical in some shape or form at the house, and she ended up stabbing the dude in the chest and killing him. Well, I'm sorry. That's what police say that she did. Stabbed him in the chest and killed him. She says that he came at her with the knife, and when she pushed him, he fell on it.
Of course.
Of course. But they didn't buy it, and of course she's facing murder charges. We actually had somebody that knew the guy who commented on the story. Didn't add any details, but I don't think
she's out on bond?
Yeah, that's what it said. And
yeah.
What I think the reason why is because maybe they can't at this point in time yet prove that what she said isn't true. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that, but goddamn, 50,000 bond.
Yeah.
Someone came up with the money quick for her.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to come. I don't remember how much they have to come up with.
10%.
10%.
Yeah. So someone had to come up with $5,000.
I'm gonna see if somebody who that comment on. Oh, this was my husband's friend. It doesn't say anything about. They did add. She wasn't even divorced from her first husband yet.
Oh,
so
that's cute. Never, ever, ever fucking argue in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, just don't. And someone said in the comments, and this is true, don't pull the fucking knife out. If someone gets something stuck in them, don't ever pull it out, man, because they can bleed to death.
Yeah, because that was something she said, that when he fell on the knife, she panicked and pulled it out and set it on the table.
Yeah, and that's a fact, what you just said, old man. My mother's sister was killed in '73 by her second husband. They got in an argument in the kitchen, and she was washing dishes, and evidently she had a butcher's knife at the time, and evidently he took it and stabbed her right dead in the middle of the chest, hit her aorta, and then he pulled it out. And she bled to death instantly.
So what would happen if they'd have kept it in? Maybe still died, but maybe still had a chance?
Well, he might have still bled to death, but he might not have. You know, it just depends. But if you pull it out, the chances are you are going to bleed to death. There was a place I used to work. They were putting on an addition. There was an industrial accident. A guy fell and had a pry bar, and he fell on the pry bar and had this thing impaled in him. And before our first aid crew could get there, one of his coworkers yanked it out because he didn't know what else to do. And the dude bled out. And they said, you know, if they had not pulled it out the way it had gone in and pinched the artery off, they said if he would have bled, but he would have bled slow enough that he would have had time.
Damn, Pagan, that reminds me of that damn industrial accident you got into in woodshop back in junior high school. Remember that shit?
Oh, that wasn't shit.
That was crazy.
But it was enough to make me faint and have a concussion, though.
Jamie hurt his finger on a sander at school, and he passed out. He fainted.
Did you hurt it bad? I mean,
well,
did you lose a lot of skin?
Well,
Please
what I
tell me
was
yes.
No, yes and no, yes and no. This is what happened. Okay, I was on what was called a disc sander, and I was jacking around with about a 6-inch piece of wood, which you wasn't supposed to.
Weren't you making it? Weren't you making a bowl?
A bowl?
Yeah.
Like a bowl to eat out of?
No, smoke out of. That was the big thing, was to make bowls and shop.
That's why everyone took shop, actually.
Right.
Yeah, right. But I was just jacking around, and anyways, that piece of wood got flung out of my hand, and my finger, which my pointer finger on my right hand, went straight into the disc sander, and it hit, and I was like, shit, I just hit the disc sander, and I didn't feel anything. And then I turned my finger over, and I looked, and my whole nail was gone. It just like ripped the nail out, I guess. So there was just meat there, right? It was starting to bleed and stuff. And I saw it, and I just fainted. Just as simple as that. And I fell, and I hit the concrete floor. And evidently, I got a concussion, and I woke up in the nurse's office. And next thing you know, my parents are coming and taking me to the hospital.
So you did more damage from fainting than you actually did with the wood sander.
Yeah. Right.
I used to work in wood shops a good bit, making. Well, I didn't make the cabinets because I was too scared of the fucking table saw. I saw that thing kick back on people too many times for me to trust myself using one of them. But I saw a guy using one of those radial sanders before, those disc sanders, and a piece of wood splintered off of it, and it shot right up his fucking nose. I was sitting there sanding something, and I heard something crack. And he turned around, and he's got this big piece of wood sticking out of his fucking nostril, and all this blood's gushing out. And he went running into the bathroom. But I did not like working with heavy machinery like that stuff, man. I was happy with the sandpaper and the spray gun to paint the stuff. But
I'll just take my time.
Yeah, I watched some dude pushing a piece of wood through a. They say they're better at it now, but I don't know and I don't care. But he was pushing a piece of wood through a table saw, a big giant piece of wood through it, and it kicked back on him, and it just smacked him right in the dick. I mean, it comes back as fast as that blade's going, you know.
Right.
It just smacked him right not in the balls, luckily, but still.
A dick punch still sucks.
Oh yeah, especially by a flying piece of wood. Let's see here. This one was yours. This was out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. This was this lady. This was that woman that tried to get her ex-boyfriend back by killing her kid with salt.
Yeah. So old story on the demon, you know, and it goes both ways. In this case, it happens to be a woman doing heinous shit to get a piece of dick back. It goes the other way too. So it's not a hating on one sex or the other thing, but it's a hating on this bitch thing. Kimberly Martinez, she had two twin daughters. She had I guess somewhat of a history of not really giving as much concern as you'd think a mother would. November of 2015, pediatrician was concerned about one of her daughters, Peyton. Said that she had low weight gain and developmental delays, scheduled an appointment for her with a specialist. Mom canceled it. It couldn't be bothered, you know, so maybe she's not the most concerned mom in the world. And, you know, there's a lot of those, and that's not good, but things went from that to worse. July 31st of 2016, she takes, at that point in time, she's 17 months old, takes her daughter Peyton to the hospital. She's got 103-degree fever, which, you know, that's a pretty serious fever. She's dehydrated. She's having a seizure. So she's in pretty bad shape. The doctors, they do blood work, and they see she's got way hyper elevated levels of sodium in her blood. So they're like, okay, she's got sodium poisoning. And I didn't say in the write-up because it was too complicated what happens with sodium poisoning, but it talks about it in one of the in one of the linked articles, and it basically makes the cells shrivel up so much that they get yanked out of frame. They're basically, the cells pull themselves apart. And so she has this acute sodium poisoning. They put her on life support. Doesn't do any good. She's declared brain dead on August 2nd. Following day, she's dead. And you know, these fucking people, they've always got an explanation. They've always got a story. I don't know if they come up with it ahead of time or do they just think quick or what, but it was just an accident. Peyton and her sister, they got into a bag of salt and ate a bunch of salt, and that must have been what it was. And, you know, I made fun of that when I wrote the article. I'm like, because just what kid eats salt? That's just the most ridiculous explanation that anyone's ever come up with for killing a kid. At least one of the more ridiculous ones I know. There's a lot of them on the site. So her story is Peyton ate salt, and that's what happened, and it was just a terrible tragedy. But then the cops talked to her 4-year-old son, and she's like, yeah, I saw mommy feeding Peyton salt, gave Peyton a tablespoon of salt, and described the bag of salt. They searched the house, and they find the bag of salt under a sofa cushion right the fuck where he said it was. So, not only is she, as I said, in the write-up, a cold-blooded murderous bitch, she's also fucking stupid.
Yeah, so she's one of the dumber ones.
They go to her and they're like, we've got the bag of salt. Your son ratted you out. She confesses, and they say, well, why'd you do it? And she said, well, I wanted my estranged husband back. I wanted the dick back. I thought if I killed the kid, I'd get the dick back. And, that goes back to the thing that we see all the time. People you'd think would be good parents, that the genitalia of the opposite sex just makes them crazy. So then they ask her, well, why Peyton? She said, well, she's the one who was nearby. So it could have been the other twin. It just Peyton was the one that she was able to get her hands on, easiest. So
yeah,
she's lazy too.
Yeah, she's lazy.
Yep. So she was, and all this happened back in 2016, but the reason the article came up is on Tuesday this week, she was sentenced to 30 years, 85% to be served before any possibility of parole. And I hope that the ladies that work in the cafeteria where she gets lodged find out about this, and every fucking piece of food she has for the next 30 years times 85% is just so salty you can't fucking stand it.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, too, those ladies do not like child killers that much. Is that not correct? I mean, didn't we hear about that before, that they get treated pretty badly in prison?
I've got to think.
I think somebody had said that on a couple different occasions over the years, but I don't know if that's an actual fact or not, because the way our site looks like they're all in there for killing their kids. So I don't know. She's not the first person we've had on here too that killed their kid with salt, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think we've had another one. Jaded. I don't know if you remember, but didn't we not have somebody else that they were getting, what's that? God damn it, Munchausen syndrome, where they
by proxy, yeah, where they make their kids sick to get attention for themselves.
Right, and I think that's what they were doing. They were using salt. I'm doing a real quick search. I'm just curious.
Well, I remember years back, and this has been probably 20 years ago, but there was a stepdad in Durham that killed a kid. He made a 10-year-old boy drink 2 gallons of water as punishment, and it's the opposite of what sodium does. The sodium poisoning makes the cells shrivel up to the point that they rip themselves apart. If you drink that much water, it throws your electrolyte balance off the other way, and the cells just keep pulling in water because they're not getting electrolytes. So they're like, well, I got to keep pulling in water because I need electrolytes, and it causes swelling, and that's what happened to this kid. Is his brain swelled up enough that it killed him. And the dad's explanation then was that the kid had food poisoning from eating bad ice cream, and he made him drink 2 gallons of water to help cleanse him out. It was accidentally hyponatremia. Okay.
Yeah.
In the chat there, someone said.
Well, I just did a quick search on salt, and I guess I forgot about the bath salt epidemic.
There's that too. That's the other kind of bad salt.
This was a babysitter poured a mixture of salt and detergent down an evil infant's throat.
Oh, evil. Did it have 666 on it like the other one?
No, not in this article. I'm not seeing that, but they're all kind of evil.
It was just, you're saying the babysitter was evil.
No, the baby was.
Okay. Right. Got you.
That's why it had to take a dirt nap.
Yeah.
Did she actually kill it?
Let me see. I'm reading through real quick.
I was just curious.
No, child was treated and released.
Yeah, I know.
She poured salt and totally awesome power oxygen-based cleaner down the kid's throat.
Well, it's a good thing for the kid. Those oxygen-based cleaners are hokum and they don't work. So
I know that if we didn't do it here, then there was a very popular story about a chick that was doing that to their kid with the salt thing. And then lastly, in Germany, we had the serial killer that I knew nothing about until I wrote this article. His name was the Strangler. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Gideus Schiffer, I guess. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He was responsible for killing some women back between 83 and 90. He was one of these guys that would pick up women looking for rides, and then he would attempt to rape them and then strangle them. And he's an idiot who got busted after voluntarily giving out some DNA evidence of his own when he got busted stealing from a scrapyard. They tied him to the murders, and he was convicted. So while he's been in prison all this time, this was back in 2008 when he was sentenced. And so he's been there ever since until the other morning they found him dead in his jail cell after he had, I know he had taken the cord from his desk lamp and he had wrapped the cord around his nipples and his dick, and then he plugged it up, and the current across his chest killed him. So he got killed masturbating with a lamp cord, which I knew people did certain things like that, but man, my God, that one that's like I'd almost just choose the hanging thing.
You've got to wonder, had he done that before and just shocked himself a little bit and gotten away with it and just went too far this time, or
that's what I think.
Was it? Hey, I'm going to try this, and whoops, that didn't work. Voltage flowing from point A to point B, and you're screwed.
Yeah, I think he's done it before. I mean, unless just fate wasn't on his side the first time he ever tried this out. But I guarantee you, and he was in solitary confinement all this time, so he's got all this time to sit in there. He's already.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah,
I mean, hell,
maybe even I'd have done something like this. You never know. That's a lot of time to be on your own with nothing to do.
Well, and you're not gonna get any more female hitchhikers to attempt to rape.
No, that's
I wonder
true.
if he ever succeeded. Just once out of the 5. Did he? Or is he failed and I got to kill you now?
He raped 3 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but he couldn't, or for whatever reasons, I think they fought back, and so he killed them. You know how he would do it, which was crazy. He would use a zip tie. That's how he killed them, or a rope. But the zip tie thing, you just never really thought about that too much, but how easy that would be to strangle somebody with, because if you can get it over their heads and give a good yank, they're not getting that off.
Zip it right up.
Yep. It's going to kill them pretty quick. So
I got one stuck on my finger one time, and I thought I was going to die.
You're retarded.
I'm not even shitting you. I thought I was going to die first or finger. It was terrifying.
How did you do that?
I put my finger in a zip tie and then tightened it up. And I did it so tight that it was really hard to get scissors in there, and I didn't want to tell my mom, so I thought for sure I was just going to die.
That's it. This finger's gone. I'm fucked.
So
after the finger goes the hand, then the arm. Oh God.
So you're one of the people that are responsible for the warning labels we have to read on things.
It's quite possible. Yeah. Yeah.
Do not use zip tie on a limb.
Well, it didn't say not to.
Well, that is true.
That's the label they'd have to put on it.
Be specific. Goddamn.
Do not put this tourniquet around your neck.
How bad did it get? Did it turn blue?
When it started turning purple and getting really fat, then I went and told my and
yeah,
was able to get it off.
I can see that. Especially if it started swelling up like a sausage.
Yeah, it was weird. I'm still slightly traumatized by it, and I don't play with zip ties anymore.
Well, that's it for the stories. I'm sorry I kept you guys on longer than normal. I know we had kind of a hiccup earlier.
Not at all, man.
I do appreciate everybody coming out and listening, and everybody helping me out co-host with this. And if you don't mind, if you guys will stay on 1 second, I'm going to end this stream right now, and I'll get another one scheduled. We'll talk about a schedule here when we hang up. But yeah, we'll be back next week.
Don't play with zip ties anymore.
Yeah, it'll either be I don't know. I guess we'll discuss that Friday. It'll be Friday or Saturday. But anyway. Hey, look, everybody, have a great rest of the weekend. And like I said, we will see you back next week.
Bye.
Peace.
Later.